Hey gang, AC Insider Danny Blanford here, and I'm coming to you today with a video review of the new Seviin GF Series Baitcaster reels. A couple months ago on anglerschannel.com, some Seviin banners started showing up and started seeing a little bit of promotional campaign with us and as well as others in the industry. And the big news was that St. Croix is making reels now. 7 decades of rod making, and they have turned their attention to reels, and that's where the Seviin brand name comes in. It's tied to the 7 decades of experience and fishing 7 days a week for that matter. But when the reels came in, I did a written article about the 7 features that were impressing me right out of the box. And as an overview, that was the fit and finish. These things looked slick right out of the box. It was the overall size. I felt like my hand was going to palm them really well, which I like for flipping and close quarter fishing. And then they're easy to adjust. You got 2 dials, magnetic, and then your standard brake. They had the Easy ID feature where inside the frame of the reel, not only does it list your gear ratios, but it also gives you a line indicator. So in my case, I've got a couple cranking setups that are identical other than line. With Seviin, I can dial those reels to 10 and 12 pounds and make an easy identification of it without having to sit and fiddle with trying to figure out which one's which. Other things that caught my attention, the solid handle. You know, I saw the thing, carbon fiber handle. I didn't think that was going to be a big deal to me, but after getting them in my hands, I really like it. It's big, it's rigid, and it's got these awesome EVA foam grip handles that seem to make a difference as far as keeping a hold of that reel when you're winding baits. The drag itself, thought that was cool. It's got audible clicks. Now, didn't get a ton of time to use the drag. Home water for me is the Ohio River, so having to back my drag off while fighting a fish is pretty rare unless it's, say, a flathead or an Asian carp. But I do like the audible feature, and we'll get into that in a moment. And then, of course, price was the other thing that caught my attention. You can get a Seviin reel at all kinds of retailers throughout the country for 120 bucks. So those 7 things right out of the box impressed me, and now, after fishing for about 60 days with them, got a little more feedback on those topics. You know, as far as the fit and finish, it's great. They're made of a composite material that doesn't seem like it's going to scratch, chip, or peel like some of the other finishes that I've had on my reels. The quality is just there with everything molded in a small compact form like that. It just makes for a real nice setup. And when we're talking about the size, I thought I would like the way they palmed, and I was absolutely right about that. This 8 1-to-1 is what I set up for finesse flipping this fall. Spent most of the fall throwing 5/16 ounce or 3/16 ounce Secret Lures finesse jig. Also spent some time throwing some really small tubes with this setup to get a feel for how it pitches and flips. And I got to tell you, I was impressed. You know, 12-pound fluorocarbon contra line, lightweights, plenty of casting distance for pitching, flipping, that kind of thing. And one thing that impressed me, a lot of my flipping reels have a lot higher bearing count. So I thought for sure that I was not going to be impressed by this 4-bearing setup, but I was wrong. It pitched those little baits flawlessly, and I didn't really have to worry about spool overrun. So I didn't have a lot of loose line to deal with. Overall, very impressed in that category. As far as the Easy ID, it is a great feature. I've already kind of hit on that. It is nice to be able to look down and know what your gear ratio is, as well as what line's on the reel. Those are slick. I'll put a couple pictures of these up here because if I bring them up to the camera, it's kind of probably below the frame out. But Easy ID, awesome feature. The solid handle that we talked about, this is actually very cool. I didn't feel any torque in it, and whenever setting the hook, I always keep my handle on the reel. Didn't feel any flex, didn't feel any torque. Really don't see anywhere you're going to have a problem in that setup. It is rock solid. Now, the drag, I kind of mentioned, I didn't get to spend a lot of time, you know, working the drag on and off, but if I bring this up by my mic, I think you can probably hear those audible clicks. And I think that's a cool feature. I'm used to it on my spinning reels. I like it on the drag. When I reach down, I can kind of tell about what kind of motion I'm getting out of it, and I can suck it all the way down or back it off and get those audible clicks along the way. So that's a cool feature. And then, you know, last but not least, price. I thought at $120, 4-ball bearings, the only place I would see me using these reels would be for chucking and winding heavy baits. And they did that excellent, but what really sold me was being able to flip and pitch these lightweight baits. As far as heavy stuff, I've probably casted several miles with a Thunder Cricket, braided line, and a Seviin 1-to-1. Did a ton of moving bait fishing the past couple months, spinner baits, thunder crickets, all that stuff, and even threw a frog on this some when I first picked it up. And anything I picked up, casted it with ease. And you know, with those heavier baits too, a lot of those casts when I make those are like those long bombers, right? And so it delivered. The casting distance was great, and again, very little overrun on my spools with just a couple quick adjustments. So as you're wrapping up the season, if you're looking for something to put on your Christmas list for Santa, maybe give these 7 reels a look. At 120 bucks, I don't think you can go wrong. They're available across the country and they are out now. And it's my understanding that the spinning reels will be coming soon. And if they're anything like the Baitcasters, St. Croix and Seviin have got a home run on their hands.